Hello, my name is Adam Stead, and as the pandemic recedes, I'm on a mission to understand what makes different venues successful. To that end, I'm interviewing some amazing people from different kinds of hospitality businesses to ask them what makes their business tick. This is Served With Podcast, and you can find it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. This week, I got to speak to Nicolo Fortunato, the co-founder and COO of Platform. Platform is a gamer bar and, to use the fashionable nomenclature, a competitive socializing space in Shoreditch, where friends, family, colleagues and romantic partners can play against each other on games and order restaurant-standard food and drink. Competitive socializing is such a big deal now, and Platform is part of the vanguard, poised to open new locations as they raise more money this year. I was so curious to hear how his business worked and what he thought about the movement.
So our current space is 3,000 square foot.
Okay.
So we have 8 console stations.
Right.
That can have up from 2 people up to 10 people.
It's intended that people would sit and drink and play video games all the
Yes,
time.
yes. So when we started, we've tried many different things. So our idea was kind of, okay, there is a market that is growing, that is video games, and there is this phenomenon that is called competitive socializing. And we've been looking at what's happening in London, because me and my brother, we studied here, and we said, okay, there is competitive socializing around darts, ping pong, mini golf, but what about video games? Why there's nothing around there? It's something dedicated to consoles. So we said, okay, let's try it out. So we started with 4 experiences: was consoles, so modern consoles, retro consoles, racing simulators, and computers. And then we've learned from
Racing simulators.
Yes.
So I'm imagining the kind of thing you get in an arcade, like a
Yes.
large
Correct.
physical bit of... Okay.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So it's curved screen with your own steering wheel and your headsets, and basically you jump in a car, and you feel like you are in a racing car, but then you don't get the 3D dimension or 4D dimension, how they call it in some places. And so we started like this, and then we've discovered that our business model was not just gaming, it was also hospitality. So that's why we've...
So at the start you were more, in terms of your actual bottom line, at the start it was more ticket focused, and now
100%.
It's more
so we even
drinks.
today we talk about tickets, but I think even in the past we never thought about tickets. It was let's sell hour of gaming.
Okay.
So this is what we started from. I think when I look at the first financial model, it was 50% of our revenue was gaming and 50% was F&B.
Right.
So obviously this has been proved wrong, and we've seen there was a huge demand for drinks, as in the UK people like drinking.
But people are less price sensitive to drinks, right?
Yes.
An hour of gaming, they think really critically about the price.
100%.
And then once they're there, if they're paying a couple of quid more for their whiskey, they don't care.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes, the big problem with video games, it's very immersive. So people sometimes they don't have time to drink.
Yeah.
So that's why we've said, okay, people need to drink and need to play. So let's just focus on the most physically social aspect of video game, that is the console. So because you can play on a group.
So, okay, so from those 4, the actual one that's driving the profits is the console, both retro and modern?
No, retro we kept a little bit, but it's modern. They might don't want to purchase the latest console at home, they don't want to purchase the latest game. So they rather come from time to time to Platform and play these games. So we've kind of strip out the racing simulators and really focalize on console. So gaming venues in general, I would say gaming bars, again it's a stereotype, but it's quite true, is dark, underground, neon lights, offering is very average. So this is also something that we want to change. So when you come to Platform, you get all the craft beers, you get all the latest cocktails from London and Shoreditch. So people, they feel like when they come to us, it's not just about video games. It's also like a place where you can have a good time.
Okay. If I think about running a place like Platform Experience, I would think that it would be a complete operational nightmare because you've got all of this expensive kit and then you've got to shepherd people through and they're getting drunk around the kit and then you've got to come in and say you're out of time, guys. We've got to move you over to the bar or kick you out. Could you talk a little bit about some of the challenges around that?
Yeah, again, another very good question. So when we build a space, most of the hardware is not visible, except I would say the controllers and the screen. Yeah, and it worked quite well. People, I think, in the UK in general are they're respectful. We have our first controller broken maybe a couple of months ago, but not because of someone throwing.
How long have you been around?
3 years.
3 years, first controller broken, 3 years in to a bar gaming experience.
Yes.
That's amazing.
People, if you give them a good experience, they don't want to steal anything. They don't feel like they had a good, they want just to come back and say, okay, I don't want to be put on a blacklist or whatever because you get service, at the booth that you are, you can order any drinks, you can order any food. So you have a lot of interaction with our team. That's been very valuable because people then they enjoy. Our team know the games, etc. So these consoles they've made for home and for utilization of thousands of hours. So basically, it's the same.
Sort of every time a new console comes out, you've got to buy it. We don't have to because now the technology is going very fast. But in the end, like I said, for example, for Nintendo, the only thing that they've improved is in the Nintendo Switch is just the quality of their screen. Yeah. But people don't play on the screen of the Switch; they play on the big screen, on a big display. So it doesn't change anything. And on that side of things, we have sponsorship. So we work closely with Nintendo, with also the other hardware companies, where they provide us all the hardware for free, so they can get marketing out of us. That's cool.
This is also another thing. So we get like replacement very quickly. And this is not just the hardware; it's also the software. So we work with publishers, so they give us also the game for free because it's a way for them to market it.
This is Served With Podcast, and I'm talking to the COO of Platform, a gaming bar where, as far as the balance sheet is concerned, the bar is king, and we're barely worried about breaking the controllers. Next, I wanted to understand who was visiting these kinds of spaces. So your customers then, because you mentioned large groups of people, and you mentioned work parties, and to me that's different from like this third group that might be somewhere lurking in there, which is like fans, people who are
core gamers.
Really gamers. Who's your main audience?
Exactly. So this is a very good question. And I think when we look at first, there's only PS5, not PS6. Right, whatever. That's it's just to make sure that I know what I'm talking about because sometimes the guys accepted PS5 now. But so this is a very good question, and we went back to Competitive Socialising and say, okay, video games, it's a huge market, 3 billion players on the planet, so half of the planet is playing video games, but only I think 2 to 5% are core gamers. Yeah. So people that want the latest tech, who are spending quite a lot of money into video games, and the rest is 95% is people like you and I. To get it more and more popular, I think physical spaces are needed.
The main cohort, casual gamers.
Yeah, 95% of the population.
Social, and then it's more, I would imagine, more B2B than B2C.
I don't have the exact number in terms of the split between B2B and B2C, but because of the pandemic, B2B has been kind of drastically put down. Yeah. 80% of our customers, they pre-book in advance. Right. And we can say that, from Thursday to Sunday, we're almost fully booked every week. So
very good.
It's still like very popular on that side of things. And then now we're seeing B2B to pick up. And we'd say we don't want to be too much B2B because we have a lot of like fans coming on a regular basis because now it's their spot. For example, to have a drink with their friends.
So that's interesting, because I would have thought you would get a lot of, novelty shoppers where I would go to Platform Bar with my friends once every 6 months because it's a bit of fun and it's a bit different. But I'm not going every week like I do to my regular pub.
But some people now, it's become their regular pub.
Your customers, they're men in their 20s, true or false?
False. So they are almost 50-50 split between men and women.
Okay.
And they are between 18 and 35, I would say.
What's the most popular game?
Mario Kart.
Mario Kart.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I love Mario Kart.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because you said latest technology, and I was kind of imagining COD or something.
Yeah.
I would think of that as a kind of more retro games thing.
100%. But I think their first is accessibility to the game.
Yeah.
This kind of, like you said, famous game. They've evolved and gotten more complicated and very competitive. So Call of Duty has been a gameplay that's been evolving and getting more and more complicated with more I would say features. And Mario Kart, basically the gameplay is the same since 15 years.
Yeah.
It's just the controller who's been evolving, and the quality of the game and some features. But I think the one that's been on Nintendo 64 is almost the same as the one that is on the Nintendo Switch.
This is Served With Podcast, and I'm talking to Nicolo Fortunato, a co-founder of the Platform Gaming Bar and a leading player, that's a pun, in the competitive socialising movement in the UK. I wanted to ask about competitive socialising, which feels like a thing everyone's been talking about.
No one really tried to do something where gaming was very social. I think this is kind of where we want to go. And I think it's the same objective that competitive socializing has.
Yeah.
So competitive socializing, it was a need of people want to go out, but they need an activity in the
Yes.
end. Because the new millennials, they are not like we used to be, like going out was just to eat and drink. Now it's more like we need to do something.
Yeah.
And also there's a big need in terms of also why it's called competitive socializing is because when you compete, you socialize much quicker.
Yeah.
Because you can play Mario Kart or play Dart with someone you don't know, but if there's a competition, then you're going to speak with the other person that is playing against you. But it's natural.
Yes. Here's something interesting. So there's novelty, where some businesses crop up and they offer a really novel experience. And everybody's really interested in them for a couple of years. It's a fad, and then people lose interest and there's suddenly fewer of those businesses around. How do you think about that in terms of or kind of the risks of novelty in terms of your business model?
I think we are lucky that we don't have to develop the technology. So if we compare ourselves to bowling alleys, flight club, bounce, they need to create their own technology, so they need to update the games on a regular basis if they want to have returning customers. Because I don't think people want to play darts as often they want to play video games. Because video games you have so much variety. So you come once to platform, you play Mario Kart. You come a second time, you play FIFA. It's like cinemas. We don't create the IP. I think it's just the beginning. I think with technology, it's gonna be much more concept coming out. Now we see the more, I would say, related to traditional sports like darts, golf, cricket, ping pong. But now we see VR. We see us with just video games. So I think it's just the beginning, and I think there's going to be like a consolidation at some point where it's going to be something normal. I mean, taking over. An activity place, but just a modern place where people can spend a quarter of the day or half of the day in a place. And homes are getting smaller and smaller because price of the real estate is getting higher and higher. People still earn the same amount of money, but So the idea is just they want to do something cool. I think when you go to a restaurant, a lot of like the casual restaurant died because they were not offering anything in the end, just the food. And I think people just don't want to go out just for the food. And when you want to go in Italian restaurant, for example, you want ideally an Italian waiter. You want a very like Italy that's very similar to food from Italy. When you travel, you want to travel actually. When you go to Italian restaurant, you want to travel a little bit.
Yeah.
Get outside of your home, and I think it's when you do like this with Flight Club, it's like you want to go to a pub, but you want like to go to the evolution of the pub. And I think in pubs there was always like a place where you can play darts, but there was not this excitement that Flight Clubs bring around darts, I think.
Yes, and darts in a pub, I don't know. I don't know. What's funny to me is like the different cultural attitudes that I have, or the different associations I have in my mind with different things that are all competitive socializing. The association I have around paintballing is very different from playing snooker in a pub. It's very different from going to a gaming bar and playing Atari on a little console. Yeah. It's very different from going to a board game cafe and smoking someone at Catan.
Yeah.
But they're all kind of part of the same.
Paintball is like laser game is like also I think karting. I think you can't do both at the same time, and this is where I think competitive socializing they nail it because you can do both at the same time. So you don't need to play to drink. Yeah, and for me the next evolution of music and cinema, it's video games. So it's kind of now if we see like how much is taken from the film industry and the music industry and now put in video games, but in another level.
Do you mean just in terms of market size?
Market size, and I think with investment. Now we can see that now.
I'm gonna say that the video games market is already more lucrative than the music market.
Much more. But like for me, it's like the next step.
Yeah.
But because culturally, it's not accepted.
Yes.
Yet.
It's ostracized.
Exactly. There's these stereotypes around it.
It's not perceived as art in the way that music is.
100%. So it's been, pre-pandemic called addictive, and then during the pandemic, they changed after 6 months saying, okay, video game is very good for the population.
Yes.
So I think the aspect is changing, and I think to get it more and more popular, I think physical spaces are needed.
That was Served With Podcast. As the size of your home fritters to nothing, as a deadly virus wipes away businesses, it's time to join a bigger revolution in culture than music. We're introducing a new game called Subscribe to This Podcast, The Game. It works like this. To play, you need to press the big button which says subscribe on it wherever you get your podcasts, and you'll get conversations about hospitality routed straight to your inbox. Served With is brought to you by StoreKit, which is also a bit like a video game. The game works like this. Your guests order food and drink wherever they are through an intuitive and richly visual interface. It's no wonder that venues report higher spending on more premium kinds of drinks.